All right, it is really a nice time to be in front of you now to talk a little bit about some of the closing remarks for our conference today. Appreciate everybody's attendance and staying with us throughout all of this. I'll start by just talking a little bit about where we are in our strategic plan and the work that's happening. I think you are hopefully familiar with our Improving Lives Through Education vision and our mission for providing access to opportunity for every child, and you'll hear me talk quite a bit about that. Before I go too far into it, though, I would like to take the opportunity now to talk a little bit about our State Board of Education and introduce the State Board of Education members who are here, and remind you that we do have 8 who are divided by congressional district, but it is important to understand that once they are on the state board, they serve each of you. So they are State Board of Education members. They don't represent a congressional district. They are from a congressional district, but they serve the state as a whole. So you'll see a lot of our state board members in various places. So first of all, I'd like to introduce, we have Peter Hershen right in front of me today. If you'd stand, Peter, he's been such a great asset to the state board for many years. Also, Kim Bailey. Dr. Vic Lenz, our current vice chair. And Dr. Don Claycomb. Okay, thank you all very much. The other thing I'd like to do, I know it's hard when you go to a conference and people talk a lot about their staff, but I just have to. I have to this year. They put so much work into this particular conference, and I know you all know of all the behind-the-scenes work that goes into anything like this. But our team has been relentless through this COVID. And I know a lot of times you don't see that work. I do, though. I'm going to ask our team to please stand and be recognized. They don't like that, but please stand and be recognized. All of our DESE staff, area supervisors as well. They have been doing incredible work for you. I'm very, very pleased to say that throughout the entire COVID pandemic, our building didn't close one day. They wanted to make sure you were paid. They wanted to make sure our teachers were certificated. They wanted to make sure our kids could be fed, that the waivers were met. I mean, just incredible things. And it was always about how do we better support you. So I'm just so absolutely grateful to each of them. I also have a quick announcement that I'd like to share with you. We have 2 transitions in the department. So Sarah Madden is our new general counsel as of Friday. She's replacing Peggy Landwehr, who's retired. So Sarah has been with the department for 3 years. She's very, very skilled and highly equipped, and it'll be a very seamless transition for that as well. Also have the opportunity to introduce to you our new Assistant Commissioner of the Office of College and Career Readiness. You all know that Dr. Blaine Henningsen retired, and so moving into that role will be Dr. Bart Washer, who is with us today as well. Thank you. That name might sound familiar to some of you. He was with the department several years ago, and he's currently at, or now he's not currently, but he's been at UCM. And I'm most familiar with his work and his very active role with the Career and Technical Education Advisory Council. So Bart, welcome. We're super happy to have you joining us. I think it's today your official first day? Oh, it was yesterday? Okay. He's been with us 2 days now, so this is good stuff. All right, good. Well, let's get in kind of the meat of what we're going to be talking about today. About 2 years ago, I stood right in front of you again and talked about some of the harsh truths that we were dealing with, some of the concerns that we were dealing with. I talked a little bit about my concerns about our students and where they were academically and emotionally and some of the things that were happening. I talked about our teacher workforce and the recruitment and retention concerns and challenges that we have out there. I talked about the shifting demographics in our state and in our country, and how do we learn to serve the different types of students that are being brought into our classrooms every single day, and the fact that our communities are getting much older in certain areas. And we talked about adverse childhood experiences and how those continue to increase, and the stress and the trauma that our children are enduring. And guess what? Here we are 2 years later, and I'm going to say check, 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 check. So we had that COVID interruption, and we still have these concerns, but I'm not going to go through each of them again. You can go back and watch it because they're still very, very real, and that's where our patience part comes in. Patience, perseverance, leadership defined. That's what I'm going to talk about a little bit today. And I will say that one thing that does keep me going in our roles today is I think it is a wonderful time to be in education. Michael Fullen, I know a lot of you are fans of Michael Fullen, but he talks about systems change when. And if you look at what's happening and when systems change, we've about reached every one of those. Disruption has occurred, and it's time to look at things a little bit differently. What did we learn? And so I hope that many of you were able to participate in the competency-based learning part. I hope that many of you are studying what happened when students learned remotely or in the classroom. What happened and how did we serve our students best? And then really importantly, what do our kids need to know and be able to do to be successful? And so let's use the opportunity to move forward together. And when we look at what we're doing right now, I will say I'm very, very pleased that we stayed focused on a lot of these goals. You heard the governor talk a lot about the Office of Childhood. Pam has worked relentlessly on that with so many people to come together to keep that vision going because our earliest learners matter so much to us. Early literacy, I hope many of you were able to participate in the breakout session yesterday. This constant focus on how do we learn to teach our students to read better. And we've got to equip our kids with those reading skills. Those early literacy skills are just essential. Success-ready students, great opportunity to be talking about what does that mean, what does that look like, a break in our assessment system, how can we redesign that to help inform better, to do better things as we move forward. Safe and healthy schools, boy, that just took on a whole new light, but we stayed very focused on that. So appreciate your work with what you've done with the current pandemic situation. We'll continue to call on you to work with vaccinations and do some of the things that we can so that our schools do remain among the safest places for our children. And then, of course, our workforce issues, our educator recruitment and retention. Haven't lost sight of that at all, and we'll continue to focus on those efforts. So that's just that part in a nutshell. I want to transition into my own personal remarks now. So again, patience, perseverance, leadership defined. We've all needed a lot of patience this year. And now we need perseverance. We feel it, we know it. And I was really trying to think about what to say, and there's really no better demonstration a lot of times of perseverance than what's been hitting your TVs daily lately, and that's the Olympics, right? So I'm gonna frame a little bit around what we've learned through the Olympics, some takeaways that might be able to be applied to what we're doing in our schools this school year. Never lose sight of the goal. Every athlete on that Olympian team knows what their goal is, and they know how to get there, and they stayed focused on it. What's our goal? This is where you get to participate. What's our goal? Student success, educating our children, right? There are so many things going on right now, and our goal is to educate our children, take care of our children. And we cannot lose sight of that goal. And we say, yeah, but we had this and we had this and we had this, and I'll take it back to the Olympics again, and I'll say, do you remember what it must have felt like? Because you saw it in your kids. Boy, I was like the least favorite aunt when we talked about closing school, and my nephew lost the whole baseball season, his senior year. I mean, I was not the favorite aunt. We all know what that's like. These Olympians that were training and qualified for the 2020 Olympics, and they said, oh, hold on. Just gonna have to wait another year. Persevere. They're there. We can do it too. Never lose sight of the goal. What's the goal? Educating our children. Student success. Let's go. Okay. Don't let your setbacks define you. Let's go. 1992 Olympics. Barcelona, anybody know who won the gold medal in the 400 men's meter, the 400 meters for the men? Anybody know who won the gold medal? And if anybody says I wasn't born yet, it's not going to make me very happy. However, anybody remember the gold medalist? No? I don't even know, so I have to look at my notes. Does Quincy Watts ring a bell? No. Let me ask you this question. Does the name Derek Redmond ring a bell? And if the name doesn't ring a bell, does anybody remember the story about the guy who was qualifying and he pulled a hamstring? Coming back to you a little bit. And he fell. And then so you're nodding now, his father came out from the stands and they hobbled across to the finish line. And he was disqualified but he got a standing ovation from the crowd. Anybody remember that story? Don't let your setbacks define you. It's not the setback. We don't even remember who won the gold, but we remember the story of the guy who stuck in there and crossed the finish line. It's not what happens to us, but it's how we handle what happens to us a lot of times. You had a lot of setbacks last year. And if I had a crystal ball, I would tell you, probably going to have a lot more this year. Don't let the setback define you. How we handle the setback defines us. No, it's okay to ask for help. I have to read this quote too. So a lot of debate right now about Simone Biles' decision to step out, and I'm not going to go into that one. But what I do want to do is share with you the quote from her trainer, because I thought this was getting a lot of attention too, and I thought it was quite powerful. We have a fundamental misconception of what it means to be tough. It's not gritting our teeth through everything. It's having the space to make the right choice despite pressure, stress, and fatigue. It's okay to ask for help. Our students are asking for your help. Our teachers are asking for your help. Our principals are asking for your help. And there are going to be times when you're going to need help. It's okay to do that. Because we need you strong, and we need you capable of making really, really good decisions. It's okay to ask for help. Take one step at a time. Now, I clearly didn't run a marathon, but I had a friend in college who actually ran a marathon. She told me that the hardest step of the marathon is the one from the couch to the front door. When you're training, I'm sorry, I kind of missed that part. When you're training for the marathon, the hardest steps are from the couch to your front door. A lot of people ask me, and they probably ask you this too. What keeps you up at night? When you're thinking about educating your children this year, what keeps you up at night? I don't even have time to write you the list of things that keep me up at night. I used to tell people I could sleep all the time. Not anymore. I have a whole list of things that keep me up at night. So what are you going to do? I think you heard the governor say it. The next right thing. One step at a time. The next right thing. And sometimes, as you heard one of our the new superintendents heard one of our area's supervisors say yesterday, that takes a little bit of time and thinking to do the right thing. We feel really rushed in our positions right now. Make decisions, make decisions, make decisions, and I'm good about it, like urgency, urgency, urgency. But sometimes if you just sleep on it, you're going to come up with a better decision. Marathon runners will tell you that you don't often win the race with the first mile. But you can lose it. You can start out too strong, and you can lose it. Take it one step at a time. Fans in the stands. You been following that one at all? It's very different without fans in the stands at the Olympics this year, right? And they're doing kind of studies on it and what we can gain from having our audience there. and what we can get from our people smiling at us and cheering us on, right? And so, like, what do you, the fans in the stands or the absence thereof has been very, very powerful. We must engage our communities. We must have authentic engagement and dialogue and discussion with our communities. But again, going back to what the governor said today, I remember a former board member used to say to me, any coach will tell you that if you start making your calls based on what they're telling you from the bleachers, you're going to be sitting in them pretty soon. And I think it's very, very true today. All the noise of social media and everything that's judging everything you do without any context to what has gone into the decision that you're making. And the reality is, you are the only one who knows all those details. Sometimes for legal reasons, sometimes because you just happen to know that you are the only one who knows all the details. So you're the one who has to make the decision. And I like this quote a lot. I don't often quote Jonathan Swift, but I really do like this quote a lot, where he says, find it. It is the folly of too many to mistake the echo of the London coffee house for the voice of the kingdom. The coffee house is social media, in my opinion. Don't mistake that for the voice of the people. It's enjoyable to read, and it's helpful, and you can get some good feedback, but do authentic engagement with your families. Do authentic engagement with your students, with your colleagues. As Manny said yesterday, study our students, learn from them. Do what's best, make the right decisions. But you're the only one who knows all the factors that go into the decisions that you're making. And finally, one country, one team. Now, when I was telling some of my friends that I was going to be giving a speech to school leaders across the state and the current political conditions that we're in, what should I say? They said, well, maybe you should take some advice from Hamilton. Talk less, smile more, never let them know what you're against or what you're for. Might have been some good advice, but I don't quite feel completely right about not letting you know what we stand for. So what do we stand for? For me, it's pretty darn simple. It's pretty simple. I stand for doing what's right for every kid in this state, that we will do whatever it takes, provide whatever resources we need for every child to have access to opportunity, the access to succeed. That doesn't mean that every child is guaranteed success, but shouldn't every child have the chance? Every child. So if you want to know what I stand for, that's what drives the decision making. That's the North Star. It's that simple. I ask you to know your North Star. I know you do. Stay focused on your why. Stay focused on your goal. Know it's okay to ask for help. Don't let this darn pandemic define us. Instead, let's help each other out, cross the finish line, and have a wonderful, fantastic 2021-22 school year. Our kids, our families, our state, they're all counting on us to get this one right. I'm so grateful to each of you. Thank you. Have a wonderful school year. Thank you.